Jus Riffin.
Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m. That's EST.
Jus Riffin.
Special guest and tech and talk, a musicology.
Jus Riffin.
Coming to you live at the same time here every week.
Jus Riffin.
Jump in the room, let's chop it up. It really ain't that deep.
Jus Riffin.
What's up, everybody? This is Hefner. This is Jus Riffin. I'm one of your hosts. I got Cookie Rabinowitz in the building with me. We do this every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, powered by Rug Radio. We got a very special guest. Very special guest? Yeah, sounds right. Very special guest in our studio tonight or today with us. We have Chris Schwartz, one of the co-founders of Ruffhouse Records, was distributed by Columbia. He's the man behind the Fugees, Lauryn Hill, Schoolie D, Cypress Hill. Kris Kross will make you jump. The list goes on and on and on. This guy is a legend, true legend of our time, and glad to have him back on the show. Last time we did the show with him, I was in Thailand. Now I'm back in the United States, back in South Florida, Miami to be exact. Cookie, how you doing? How's everything with you?
Oh, I'm doing so good. Blessed by the best despite my mess. Is that what they say? I don't know. But hold on. Where are we? Are you okay, I lost your audio for a second. You're back. Okay. Technical difficulties, but we're back.
Yeah. So how everything good? I was like,
yeah, everything's good. I was telling you about that project I was working on, that upgrade thing and that coding thing. And even though we talk about this on every show, I want to just spend 30 seconds to say, people, man, use this tech to reach. I had no idea of what the fuck I was doing with this certain code stack. I shouldn't say this in case the person that hired me is watching this. But I leveraged AI and accomplished this job that was way above my pay grade. And things like that helped me allocate time to do what my purpose is, which is to write songs and make music. So I know some people use the tech to make songs, and that's cool too if you're into that. I want to talk about that real quick, but let's get
yeah.
So my feelings about creating music with AI, right? I'm not against people doing it, but I just don't do it myself because I just love the process.
Sure.
But with that said, man, I kind of capitulated a little bit to not hating Suno. I don't say I hate them, but you know what I'm saying. But I have a little story. It's a quick one. So I called my dad yesterday, right? And we're talking, and he's telling me how he's writing all these. My dad, later in life, he's really been getting into being creative. When we were kids, he would be like, fuck music, fuck this, go to school, be a this, be a that. But as he gets older, he's getting really into his creative side. And it really makes me feel warm and tingly on the inside. But anyway, he's been sending me these lyrics that he writes. And he's like, can you do something with these? And I try to explain to him, that's not really what I do. Like what I do is I write lyrics from my experience and then I make music. I don't really use other people's lyrics. Even though you're my dad, it's not something I do. It's just not how I do it. So anyway, but a bell went off in my head. And I was like, wait, this is the perfect candidate to use Suno, to use AI. So I made him up an account. I subscribed to the pro membership for him. I felt like I was doing a good son thing, and I was on the phone. I sent him a link to it. And I went through the whole process of him taking lyrics and creating a song, in a 50s kind of era type of style with a male voice and with his lyrics. And it blew his fucking mind. And it brought him so much joy, which then in turn brought me so much joy. So I just wanted to express that because, there is another side to this stuff, and that I think it was such a great use case for this technology. Like people that don't have the time to sit there and learn how to play a bunch of instruments and do shit, but they still have a creative outlet that they want to explore. But anyway, I'm rambling now. But
that's good though, man. You need to have an outlet, period. I don't care what it is, where it is, whatever it is, as long as you're not hurting anybody or yourself and you're able to be creative. Yeah, using the AI, if you're using it 100%, look, it could just be like we talked about before, just recreational, just having fun with it. But you love the process of making music, as do I. as do a lot of other musicians. Do love to use it, but I use AI also sometimes with the music. Like I've used Spawn. Spawn is all AI, and it's spitting out the sounds to me. Although I manipulate or I'll play the instrument itself, but it was, spun up or spawned up, using AI. I haven't used Suno for that matter, to create music in conjunction with what I'm doing. I've just used Suno by itself as a test. You heard this stuff. I did that like Taylor Swift pop music stuff. I just put in the prompt and it came out, and I played it for family and friends, and they didn't know it was AI until I told them, hey, this is AI. It's not me. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that note. Be creative, right? Like that's great that your dad is, found his creativity at a later stage in life, and why not keep it moving?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to say too, he's always been creative, but he's been creative with his professional life.
Sure.
And, but like the arts, the specific arts, he wasn't really, he didn't latch on to. I want to tell a quick story. When I was a kid, I was so into playing guitar. And I was like, Dad, you're a young kid and you're full of, young, dumb, full of energy. And you're like, oh, I'm going to be the greatest guitar player in the world. You're a kid and you're thinking, and your dad hears you talking. And my dad's response to that was, oh, yeah, sure. You could be the greatest guitar player in the world. I'll never forget this statement. But he's like, that's kind of like being the greatest guy who makes aglets. I didn't even know what an aglet was, but an aglet is the little plastic thing on the end of a shoelace. So my dad was basically dissing like what I thought was a good purpose in life at the time, which was to be a great musician. But
all parents do that shit too.
Yeah. But anyway, I digress.
My dad, so when my dad, rest in peace, he never supported when I was doing music because it was hip hop music. He wasn't into it, he just didn't support it. And he never came to any of the shows. But when I did comedy, he was at every fucking show.
Everybody loves to laugh, man. My dad always said if you can make them laugh, you can make them come.
Yeah. Okay. Right on. This is true. Hey, this is true, man. I like that statement. I'm gonna get a new T-shirt instead of Protect the Devs. We're gonna do that. Yeah. Let's get to our guest, dude, because the hour goes by quick.
Oh yeah.
And Mr. Schwartz, Mr. Chris Schwartz has a lot to say. We're going to, a lot to talk about, a lot of things that, to catch up on since we spoke to him last, which was a little bit over a year ago. So let's bring him up. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to Jus Riffin. Again, we do this every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, powered by Rug Radio. Today's guest is legendary Chris Schwartz. He is the man behind Ruffhouse Records, distributed by Columbia. Just a huge hip-hop historian, music historian. And he's also doing art with guitars, and we're going to get into it with him. So I'm excited to have him back on the show. Chris Schwartz.
Hey, how's it going? How's everybody doing?
Welcome back to Jus Riffin. Yeah, we could hear you. Good to see you, man. How's everything with you?
It's all going great. It's all going
you
great.
and Cookie
It's
got
actually
the
been a
same
little bit of a
glasses.
crazy day so far.
Yeah.
I came onto this. I thought it was like 120, like 125, like the time, and I looked at it, said 202, and I freaked out, and I thought, oh my god, the show started. I'm supposed to be there, but yeah. So I wanted to say something about when you guys were talking about AI, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the whole Cookie, the whole story that you told about your dad and everything, what I thought was one of the greatest things about punk rock was the fact that it got people on stage playing guitar and stuff who would have never been there elsewise if it hadn't been for the genre, right? And then if you look at everything that emanated from that, right, throughout the 80s, and you know what I mean, and like in modern rock and the whole thing, because look, up till then, I mean, if you look at the music business in the 60s and the 70s, 50s, all the way up to like, like the mid 70s and everything, and then the whole advent of punk, before that, you had to be like a legitimate real player, right? You could not reasonably expect to be in a band that was going to go out there and to write songs and everything, or a group or vocal group or anything, unless you had like, unless your technical abilities match your creative, intuition, right?
Sure.
And so, you know, punk rock got a lot of people who would never elsewise ever, you know, considered being a musician, going out there and you know, performing in front of people, you know, like doing this. And so it's sort of like almost full circle. Now that we have AI, it's like, I mean, but look, you know that there's been workstations around for forever, like for the past, at least, I know at least 5 or 6 years, where all you had to do was tap a couple notes into it and it creates a symphony for you, you know, or they'll do whatever you want. But it is amazing. I heard a production out of Canada that was it was a big band production, right? And it was all AI, but I would even
Wow.
defy the most experienced ear to like differentiate what was going on in this.
It's that good.
Yeah, it was that good. Plus
Yeah.
they use all real sounds. They use all real horn sounds and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So it was like, you know, those libraries are you know, are pretty good now. But
Very
it was pretty spectacular to think that it was all done, you know, synthetically or whatever. So
incredible. Yeah, I mean, this is the truth. You know, I was using the Suno that we were talking about and created a pop song, you know, in the likes of you know, Taylor Swift and you know, whoever else I could put in there that was poppy in that prompt, and it really spit out something that was like you just wouldn't know that it was AI if you were the average bear, right? Just the average listener, you would never be able to detect it, you know, that it was AI, you know. Quite frankly,
yeah, the average listener. I mean, when if you look at things that are recorded digitally as opposed to analog, because you know, let's face it, for a good period, you know, I recall when I was over in England with Miss Hill, and we went to Metropolitan Studios, and I've been to Metropolitan Studios a couple times before, but when we went in there, all their tape decks were covered up, like in the, you know, the protective plastic things that come with them. And we were doing sessions, and I was talking to the engineer. He goes, I haven't used that 2-inch in over a year. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I do all digitally. He said the time it takes, especially in dance music where you're putting all these edits in, right? He said, you have to rewind it so many times, and it uses up so much time that it was just about the convenience of digital, you know?
Yeah, it's not efficient enough.
Yeah. And so
although the sound quality though is going to be, I mean, you lose a lot, but you gain in speed, but you lose in the sound.
Yeah, you know, I was just going to say, you know, not to cut you off, but it's pretty important. You know, even in my home studio, like my girlfriend comes in my room all the time, and she always says, you know, I haven't used that 2-inch in over a year. So I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I'll tell you this. Oh my God, I'm just hearing that joke now.
Don't worry, Chris, you'll get it on the way home. Cookie will be here all week.
Cookie, like, you know, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. We'll have to workshop that later on. That's good material. Really good stuff there. So now you made me forget what I was gonna say. Talking about, like, yeah. So the thing, like, in the early days of digital, right? See, the problem with whenever they say remastered for CD, right? It's like it's a digital representation until very recently, in like the past couple of years. Teddy Riley was like one of the first guys, you know, that I remember Joe was telling me. He said, I remember listening to Teddy Riley in these edits. And he's like, how is he doing these edits, right? How's that happening? And I went up to, because I was promoting the group Guy and Rex and Effects for Gene Griffin, Teddy's manager, and this was prior to Ruffhouse. And I went up to New York and to meet with Gene and Teddy was in the studio, and he was like, I'll never forget this. It was like, first of all, it was really loud when we went in there, right? Like he had a computer sitting like next to the console, and he kept doing all the stuff on the computer. And I was like, what's that? And he said, oh, it's called Pro Tools, right? Mm-hmm. And he was telling me about how the one thing you got to remember of digital is that when you record it, that's it, right? Anything you try and do the signal, you can flatten it, you can stretch it and all that stuff, but it just loses everything, right? And it's very cold sounding, and it just doesn't make for like a very good organic, you know, like your sonics are not going to be as, you know, as bumping, you know. He said with digital, you have to record, the signal has to be really hot. You know, it's got to be hot to where it's like pinning the meters, because if it's not, you can't do anything to it later on, you know. But in the last 15 years, really, most the most anesthetized American music consumers, you know, they get everything from streaming and all that stuff. They don't really know the difference
Yeah.
between what's in the box and what's recorded, you know.
Yeah, they won't. They're definitely not going to be able to hear that. But that's awesome that you experienced. You know, hung out with Teddy Riley. You know, Guy Fame, and just you
Yeah.
know, he's just an amazing like that. He was the I would say he's the president of the New Jack Swing. You know, like that era
Well, he
of music.
created it.
Yeah,
He's like in the
that's what I
song,
mean.
Rich Murray. I don't know. You guys know Rich Murray?
No, but
Cookie, you
Island
know
Record.
Rich?
I don't
Rich
know.
Murray was my partner in the film company.
Okay.
And Rich is he has the distinction of being the first ever director to have a #1 video in every genre of music all in the same year.
Wow.
He had Billy Ray Cyrus, Monica, the Spin Doctors, and probably one of my records. You know, I don't know, because he did a bunch, but he's done a ton of videos before he started doing movies.
Interesting.
And so he did the Rex and Effects New Jack Swing,
Yeah.
right? And Teddy Riley
What?
says at the beginning
Huge
of the song, he
record.
goes, "I made the New Jack Swing."
Yeah, he
Right?
did.
I made the New Jack Swing, right? So anyhow. So
Yeah, great record. I mean, you know, and pretty cool. Like, you know, the process that he was taking during that time that you were in the studio with him on that digital side, using Pro Tools. You know, I mean, that just is the norm now for a lot of musicians and studios.
everybody has Pro Tools. I even
Yeah.
owned a set of Pro Tools. I never used it, but I owned a studio that had the Pro Tools. Jim Solomon was the first guy in my periphery that owned a set of Pro Tools. He was down the hall from us when we were over on North 3rd Street, and it was pretty amazing. Then Joe got Pro Tools, and then after that, I mean, here's the thing. Schoolie was telling me one time, he goes, what makes him really uncomfortable now when he goes into a studio is that he's used to being able to sit, you know, with the engineer and and you have the channels and everything like that. But he goes, now the engineer sits over here looking at a computer during the session.
Yeah.
And it's and for some people who are just used to the analog world, that's a little, you know, it's kind of hard to get into. But the other thing though is that people are, you know, I have records that were made by people on the other side. Arrested Development, he made 2 records. Speech made 2 double album sets with a producer over in England who he had never even met in person till long after the second album was done.
This is after Tennessee.
Oh yeah, no, this was recently.
Oh, recent. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I would love to hear
I
what
put
they're
out
doing.
2 double album sets. I put out
Amazing.
I did
Didn't even know.
I did one's called for the Effin' Love, right?
Yeah.
And the other was Don't Fight Your Demons. But yeah, Don't Fight Your Demons was the first record, and that didn't come out on vinyl. And then I did the second album, right? And then we did the first album after the second
Now,
album.
is this Arrested Development or under Speech itself?
No,
Like
Arrested
himself?
Development.
Oh, wow. So are they,
Yeah.
and real quick, because I don't want to, like, you know, I know that we were here to talk with you about other things, but are they on tour? Are they still playing together? Like,
They're always on tour.
wow, never even.
They're on tour forever, ever.
Unbelievable.
And, oh yeah, they have, like, I gotta tell you, they have like look, if you look at groups like Arrested Development, Diggable Planets, you know,
People Planet for sure.
De La Soul was, you know, prior to the demise of the one of them, that, but they were, you know, these were groups that back in the day they had gone out and established a national touring base, right, which is really important. I was working with a marquee name artist who had, you know, a platinum record and everything, and had been features on a bunch of other people's songs and everything. And when I did a record with him, we went to go out and, you know, get a tour going and everything. And the agent told me that a lot of the promoters in different cities didn't have anything they had no historical data as to what they could reasonably expect him to do, and they didn't want to take the risk, you know.
Wow,
And that
that's
is a
tough.
result of like when you go out and just take money off of independent promoters all the time, you know,
Yeah.
and getting that cash and everything. That's
Yeah.
all fine and well, but it doesn't help you, you know,
On a
when you
major
want to go out
scale.
and, yeah. But
That makes 100% sense, man. You know, like, and like back to what you were saying, where they're always on touring. I know De La was big time. I know they always were touring before the death of Dave.
oh my God, De La was like it wouldn't stop. I mean, yeah, they and that's why I think it's even prior to the demise of the one member, when because their stuff had not been out on, you know, I think there was a couple vinyl records, but their stuff, you know, they had the problems with
Tommy
you know
Boy.
with Tommy Boy and everything, and it wasn't even like really like a thing. It was just that there was a dispute over I think, and it's because you know, you ready for this?
Yeah.
The De La Soul record, 3 Feet High, has over 184 samples on it.
Sure. That was very heavy. That was like early
Yeah.
80,
And so
89, 90. Like,
yeah. And to get that record cleared, because you gotta remember the labels. Like if you want to use the song you want to do an inspiration, or if you want to use the song in a movie or anything like that, if you want to sample it, it's the master use that the money that the labels charge. It's like the publishing, you can usually just, you know, they'll let you do it, you know, but it's that's where the money is in the use of the master, and it's a pretty tall order to get that thing cleared. And I know that the company that, you know,
Yeah.
Reservoir, that bought out the rights to it, and Faith Newman, them, that took a minute to get that done, but then the record,
they bought the rights to Tommy Boy.
Yeah, they bought the Tommy Boy catalog, and they
Okay.
they bought
That's
the
where they
Tommy
went-
Boy catalog,
Yeah.
right? But here's the thing. I think that deal started before like the vinyl resurgence was obvious to everybody. And if you look at it, if you look at all those records and all those groups, you know, Naughty by Nature, like everything, right? If you
Yeah.
look at it for what it was $100 million, I believe, right?
Wow.
And if you look at that catalog, and then you look at what it's worth just in vinyl alone, I feel it was probably one of the greatest deals ever done. You know,
For 100
and
million,
with
which is a lot of
with
money.
it came the other. There was like 2 other catalogs that came with it. And one of them has all the Van McCoy stuff, you know, the Hustle, you know, and stuff like that. A lot of disco stuff, because, you know, it's what Tommy Silverman, that was his background. He was really a dance music guy. He started.
Yeah, they had Information Society too. Speaking of dance music.
Oh yeah. I had a record on the one guy from Information Society.
Running, and I forget the other hit song that they had. But
yeah, Information Society was great.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know De La was fighting to get the rights because the music wasn't on YouTube Music or Spotify. They couldn't get the music. They needed to get the rights to their music. I know they were battling Tommy Boy for a long time, but I didn't know that there was a company behind Tommy Boy that was buying their catalog from them. I had no idea about that. I thought.
Well, here's what happened. When they bought the catalog, they settled all the disputes.
Okay.
Right. So that was the thing. And I believe that I don't know this for sure, but I'm going to give you a hypothesis of what I believe probably happened. I believe that just knowing about, you know, what things cost if you do it after the fact, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than sampling somebody's music and then putting it out on a piece of vinyl through major distribution, and then finding out after the fact that it wasn't cleared, right?
Right.
So I think Tommy contended that he was that, you know, he'd spent probably over $1 million in sample clearances, right? And so after, you know, the group wasn't recouped, you know what I mean? So that I think that was the issue. I'd have to think that's what it was. Like he just wanted to somehow, you know, like he's saying, look, whatever you guys do, I need to, you know, get whole here, you know what I mean? And so, but I could be wrong, but I think that's what happened. But whatever it is, I know that Reservoir got it settled and everything, and the group not only got a lot of their stuff back, but, you know, everything was, you know,
everything worked itself out. I remember because during that time it was very sample heavy, like you said, how a zillion samples, and I think they got sued too by the Turtles. for that 3 Feet High and Rising album. But I mean, this happened a lot because people were just, back then it was like kind of the wild wild west before
Well, yeah.
lawyers got involved.
The first Cypress Hill record, there
That
was
was 91 had so many samples
yeah,
on it.
first Cypress Hill album. There was about I know like about 600,000 in sample claims
So
that had to be
crazy.
paid out.
Wow.
But the Fugees score.
Yeah, that was huge too.
Yeah, well, there was Enya, right?
Enya,
On
that was the
on
biggest one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was it was the music. It was the soundtrack for a Stephen King movie called Nightcrawlers, and so there was that, and then there was a smattering of other things. But the Enya thing alone was like 600 grand.
That's crazy. Huge record too. I mean,
yeah.
That I just remember because I mentioned this last time, when we had you on the show, but that score record, that Fuji score record, the year leading up, that whole year leading up to the release of it, that was the fucking most hyped, anticipated album to come out, because you remember the first album was so compared to that second album was like night and day. But I just remember on the street
it was,
yeah.
But not to interrupt you, but here's the thing about the first album that a lot of people don't know, and people should understand.
I liked it.
Sony wanted us to not continue with the group.
Yes.
And here's the thing: the first album in those days in black music, typically you have your first 2 weeks are your biggest weeks, and then the rest it kind of tapers off, and the group tours, and then you go on to the next record, right? That record never had a big first or second week because it was a new artist. It was an emerging artist, right? So it comes out and it does what it does, right? But over 2 years after that record was released, the monthly SoundScans went up to where it was selling 800 copies a week SoundScan.
It was
right?
so nuts.
Now that might
yeah.
not sound like a lot of records, okay? But 2 years after a record is released, so that means 800 new fans are finding this record. Now, I say that with the caveat that Salam Remy did the remixes, right? Which kind of kept the record, going and everything, right? So if it hadn't been for the Salam Remy remixes, I don't know if we'd have been that fortunate. But the reality is, it seemed to not make any sense to let a group go that is selling 800 copies a week SoundScan 2.5 years after the record comes out. It didn't make any sense, and thank goodness, but the first Cypress record, that record sat dead in the water for like almost 7 months.
And that's crazy to me because hip hop at that time, I mean, I just remember that record came out. You also had like the Main Source. You had the Seattle, the grunge scene was happening. So Nirvana and that kind of music was happening. It was all at the same time. I remember because I was at my homies and we were sitting down chilling, smoking one and listening to that Cypress Hill, that first album, blown away. Like what?
Yeah.
And so,
we shipped 32,000 copies. And
how many?
32,000 copies, but that's like in major distribution at the time. That was nothing.
That's what I mean. Like, wow.
Yeah, you're not even coding the marketplace. You're
that's
basically
crazy to me.
And so what happened is it sat at 32,000 copies, and I swear we were tearing our hair out trying to understand. Like, we knew how good it was. We were talking, and plus people like DJs and people respected, but we knew how good that record was. And
yeah,
I was totally miffed. And then the movie Juice, Chuck D was working with the producers of Juice, and they were trying to find a piece of music for a scene where Tupac Shakur is chasing Omar Epps to a party in the loft, right?
Yeah.
And they needed something there that like just worked for it. And Chuck D said, you got to check this group out. You got to put this in there. And it was like To Kill a Man, right? The song To Kill a Man. And when you went to the theater, people are watching the movie and there's a lot of cool music in it. But when that came on, you could see people just suddenly moving up and down in their seats and like going crazy about it.
Yeah.
And it went from selling 32,000 copies that we shipped dead in the water in 7 months. Next thing you know, we're selling 50,000 copies a week, right?
Incredible.
And then the group is on the road. So now they're on the road, right? While they're on the road.
Group. I want to cut you off. That's another group. We're talking about touring. They don't stop.
Who?
Cypress Hill. They don't stop Cypress Hill.
Well, yeah, I'll get that in a second. But while they're on the road, they record Black Sunday, right? And they come in, they mix it at Studio 4, right? And they go back out on the road, right? Black Sunday gets released. They're over in somewhere in Europe. They didn't even know this, that the record charted in the top 10 where the other record already was. And they were the first hip hop group to ever have 2 records in the top 10.
Incredible.
Right?
I didn't know that. That was Hits
Yeah.
from the Bong, that album, right? Black Sunday?
They had no idea that it, that it was in the top 10. And it was like, I remember what they were telling me that something, they were getting phone calls from people at home, it was like really crazy. So that was the interesting times,
Are you still stay in contact with those guys at all?
Yeah.
Awesome. We just had C- on the show, DJ C-. He's one of the members of Be Real's podcast. I forget the name of it, but we had him on the show
it's
too.
called Be Real's podcast is called
Smoke Out.
No, the Smoke Out is a kind of a separate thing where they talk in a car. That's like, no, his podcast is called Dr. Green Thumb.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't watch it, but we had him on the show. We had C- on the show. Incredible to me. And Cookie, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted, because we're talking about all this stuff and I love it. But I was wondering if we could. I'm interested. I know you're working on that Wu-Tang. If you don't want to talk about it right now, but I'm really interested in that Wu-Tang project you just did with the different album covers. I thought it was kind of interesting.
Right. So we did the first Wu-Tang record that was made with all 9 living members of the group in 11 years. And it was released during their farewell tour and everything. We did, I have a partnership with a print and publishing technology company that created the technology to do a print variant on any printable surface, right? And so we decided, let's try and do it for an album cover. And it took a little bit of doing, but we did it. And it was the first ever album cover to have a 1 of 1, meaning that no 2 covers were alike. Right. Now we only did 6,000, right? But we could do up to 5 million, right? And it sold out within minutes of it being released on Record Store Day. And then by 12 o'clock that day, it was, or like store owners would order X amount of them and they would take half of them and they put them on the secondary markets, like on eBay and stuff. And they were selling it for like $200, $300, $400, that day. And it sold out. It sold out.
Sure.
I mean, it was crazy, but it's not just the first ever consumer package print variant, right? 1 of 1 for records, but it's actually in the history of consumer products. You've never had a consumer product come out where you had a 1 of 1 where every single packaging was different because the technology didn't exist to do it. So
that's super interesting. I'm just curious on, obviously me and Hef are into the blockchain technology and that type of stuff. And I'm wondering with this process here, like and you said it could go up to 5 million. Like, how is it, like, in other words, how are you doing the generations? Is it like an algorithm or is it like?
No, it's not AI or anything like that. It's actually what all the computer's doing is making sure that there's no 2 alike. It's not putting it together. It's that is done separately, but the way, so here's the thing, I'm doing my second one, right? I have one coming out. That's what I was working on before you guys, before we did this. I have an Ice Cube record coming out in November 28th for Black Friday, and that record has got, we're doing like 4,000 1 of 1 variants, cover variants, a limited edition, and then the rest are just regular general market retail. But that one we're doing one where we're doing it market specific too. Like England's going to have their own versions of it. France, Germany, they're all going to be 1 of 1 variants, but they're going to have different, colored center labels and stuff like that. And they're going to be numbered limited edition in each country.
And these are physical copies, right?
Yeah, physical copies of the album, right? So let me tell you something about vinyl that I believe. Vinyl, right, is, the thing is, I find with a lot of the major labels, right? First off, a lot of people that work there weren't around during the vinyl era, right? Because let's face it, vinyl ended in 2000, right? 1978, was the biggest year in the history of vinyl, with 378 million copies sold worldwide. By the year 2000, because of digital processes, less than a million records. We went 378 million records, right, to less than a million in 2000, and that included CDs, right?
Like that. So
So
quick.
the majors all tore down their pressing plants, right? And so vinyl went the way of the dodo bird. Now it was kept on life support by the hardcore groups, like the bands and everything. And the band, a lot of the bands, like these guys, if they record an album, right, and they all put it on vinyl, because let's face it, they don't stream. They make their money from merchandising. So it's like the vinyl was like a lifeblood for them. But they would not even play the songs live until it was available on the vinyl that they would sell at the shows. So the vinyl resurgence started like around 2011. Some people decided, hey, let's do this and everything. And then, even though colored vinyl has been around forever, like in children's records and everything, a lot of groups started doing colored vinyl. And
Color
what
vinyl,
happened was,
picture
like,
discs.
people like at the major labels, like people like Taylor Swift, and said, hey, I want colored vinyl. I want to do colored vinyl, right? So now the major labels are inundated with vinyl, right? Now, vinyl still doesn't make the amount of money that streaming makes. It's a drop of piss in a bucket compared to streaming, but it's still pretty profitable, given that it's a bigger industry now than it was back when it was a staple, right? But the thing is that a lot of people that work at the major distribution powers, they weren't around for vinyl, right? And the thing is, for them, when you're at a job where you come in and you're dealing with streaming, which is basically, you're dealing with metadata, and you're uploading, and then you're working, you're getting it playlisted and all that stuff. That's what your world is, right? Suddenly it's like, oh, here's this other playback product, and oh shit, we got to have it manufactured. Oh man, we got to schedule it. There's all these logistics involved in vinyl that they weren't used to. The people, they haven't done it in 25 years, right? And so, but the thing is that they some of them still look at it like, okay, well, it's an adjunct playback, like consumer playback product, right? And so it's like it needs to come out the same time that the streaming gets on, all that. And it's like, to me, I'd rather the digital come out long before the vinyl, right? So people know about the record and everything like that. But it's always good. Look, the trajectory for vinyl shows no end in sight, right? They said that at the beginning, between 23 and 24, I don't know what the data is for 24 and 25, but between 2023 and 2024, the IRAA and Billboard made a joint statement saying that if the industry had the ability, they could manufacture to meet consumer demand, we'd be over 400 million records, right? So if you look at it, the industry, right, in terms of from a physical product, because back when in my heyday in this, right, we just dealt in physical product. Well, that part of the business is bigger today than it was in the 90s, right? As a matter of fact, for the first time, vinyl, just like about 5 months ago, outpaced what CDs were selling in the 90s, right? That's how big it is, right? But it's not a mass consumer playback thing like it used to be. Vinyl is a merchandising item. And that's how you have to look at it. Because if you look at it any other way, you're just gonna it's like vinyl is the type of thing that it's a core product to upsell other things, and that's why, like, Cookie's putting together this really cool platform, right? And it's a I'm sure Cookie, you've talked about it on the show before, about
Yep.
the app and everything that you're doing.
Yes.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So here's what it comes down to, is that if you're an artist, right, your real value, your stock in trade, it's your relationship to your audience, right? And so right now, like, Cookie's work doing an app, I think it's really cool, right? Is that you should be able to quantify and know who your audience is. But how do you do that? right? You're going out and you're doing shows, and if you're a big artist, you're going out, you're playing in front of 17,000 people. What are you gonna do? Stand there in the parking lot and get their names and addresses as they walk to their cars, right? No, it's like no, with an app, right? You can have a barcode,
Yeah.
and that's all it is. It's a barcode capture, right? And they go on your app. The people go on the fans go on the app, and there the artist can have a D2C narrative, a direct to consumer narrative with his fans, right? And so now you can quantify your audience. You don't know your entire audience, but the people who come to the shows are pretty much the people that give a shit about you, right? And the way I see it, it doesn't matter if you're playing in front of 15 people or 50,000 people. If people come into the venue and you're performing for them, because you remember it costs a lot of money to do a show. Not for the artist. I mean, it costs a lot of money for the artist, but for people to go to the show, you have to sometimes hire a babysitter. You're going to have dinner. You're going to buy merch. You might buy a meet and greet. You're buying a ticket. You paid for parking, right? So if that person did all that to watch you perform, why would you let them leave without finding something out about them, right? So the app is it's really, really cool way to basically capture your audience, right?
Which is really what you need to do these days. You need to. Times are different. You need to have that personal connection. I believe that just wasn't obtainable prior.
Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and everything. Here's the reality on Instagram and Facebook. I've got 140 something thousand followers, and if I do a post, I'm lucky if I'm reaching 7,000, 8,000 people, because they keep it filtered, they keep it locked down. And here's the other thing: they use your data to sell shit. Right? We tell them everything about ourselves when we go on Facebook. We tell them, we're always sending pictures of what we're eating and all that dumb shit, right? But we're telling them everything. Yet when we want to go sell something to our own people, your own followers, they're like, no, give us money. But we're going to use your followers because guess what? It's their data. It's their data, right? That's why you need to have your own app, right? You need to, as an artist, you have to have an app. And this is why, because with the app, you have the DC narrative. You can have streaming, you can do live events, you can sell merchandising, you can sell music, you could do a subscription, right, for exclusive content and everything like that, right? But what's more important about it is that if you have an app, right, like if somebody has 5 million followers on Instagram, right? Well, if they get 3 to 4 to 500,000 people to come over to an app as active users, right? Then they could show brands. They could show AT&T, they could show Samsung, hey, look at what I have, right? How much, you know what I mean? It's that, again, it goes back to what's called your conversion rate, right? Your conversion it's the KPI, the key performance indicator for how the artist's ability to sell things to his fans, right? Like you could have a huge song, but that doesn't mean people are going to buy your t-shirt. You know what I mean? And so, certain artists have really high conversion rates, right? But you build it from the very beginning. And even if I was in a band and I had I have some guitar videos on YouTube and I have 7 followers, right? And so if I was to go out and start playing and doing things, I would still have the app. I would still have it, because why would you want to try and go back and get them later on when you should have them from the very beginning?
I just want to chime in real quick, not to interrupt you.
But as it relates to vinyl, okay, it's that vinyl, as a merchandising item, is that all the labels. Every time I pick up Billboard magazine or I pick up Music Week and everything, all I see is that, we're still trying to figure out a way to identify the super fans within an artist constituency of fans. Well, these apps do it. They have that, right? And then you can cross pollinate, and you can do all sorts of stuff. You can go in there and you can look at who your top 10 people are, who your top 20 people are in terms of what they buy and what they do, right? And I sound like I'm plugging Cookie's app here. I guess I kind of am, but actually I'm involved with a company that has an app that's out doing really well, an artist app. And we have artists on it. we just had Busta Rhymes, Miss Lauryn Hill, but there was an artist named G Herbo who came on like I think about 2.5 years ago, and his app went viral, and it was the third most downloaded app on the internet after Spotify and YouTube for like a month and a half, right? And he has like 700,000 people or have it, and then who have the app downloaded. But he's got about, I believe, 328,000 active users, and of that, there's like over 200,000 that subscribe, right? The guy makes money for not even getting out of bed, right? A subscription just for like other content and everything. So it's like to me, it's like it's such an important thing. Look, the technology is here. You can put it to good use, or you could cheat with it. You can do whatever you want. But I think being able to really know your audience, and and that's why like we're doing an app. I have a project coming where we're releasing a succession of records over a year, and we're calling it 12 by 12.
Who's
And
doing?
it's all marquee name artists. Now we're doing a lot more records than that.
Who's
but
doing the
this
distribution on that, Chris?
Virgin Music Group, Universal. But
Okay.
it's a branded release schedule. In other words, it's like we're doing a podcast for each record. We're doing all sorts of listening parties, and all sorts of events, all grand. Because the idea is that we're leveraging the cumulative fan base of each artist's constituency of fans for each record, right? Because we're selling the brand as well, and then we're also offering it as a subscription. So if you commit to buying all 12 records, or if you commit to buying 6, you get all this extra stuff and everything like that. But we're doing all that through the app, right? And so it's just like it's a important piece of technology that I'm really really into, and I'm just talking about it because I think it's important.
Just Riffin. Just
Yo, no,
Riffin.
that's really interesting, and I love the whole connection, using the direct connect with the artist and the listener. I just love that whole thing with the technology, and I think all this stuff is really coming to fruition really fast. I think a lot of artists are going to be doing similar type of things. I also wanted to mention that you have 8 followers on your guitar YouTube channel. I followed you last night, and your rendition of Steely Dan is pretty banging, man. I gotta say.
Thank you.
I forget what it was.
You.
What song was it? It was it wasn't my.
I do Peg, and I do Deacon Blues.
It was Peg. Peg was the one I checked out, but pretty cool.
Wait, what is it? What are you doing? His rendition. Tell us. Take us into that.
Oh, they're just play-alongs. I'm just playing along with the record.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Speaking of guitars, though, Cookie sent me a little video of you jazzing up some guitars, man. Talk to us about.
Well,
talk to us about that side of
I have a
Chris Schwartz.
guitar company. It's called American Beauty, and my family has been in like the furniture business since 1850, actually. So I've been refinishing furniture like all my life, just because it's what I do.
Even
like
though you were doing the music
here is
stuff,
a little beat up, but
Interesting.
like
That's great.
but stuff like this, right? That's actually something that Jess worked on, but that's sort of like the kind of stuff that I do. And so I figured something out one day when I was doing some furniture. I figured out like a little process that happened by accident, and I started doing it on guitars, and people loved it, and they're like, so I started doing custom guitars for people, and I'm doing them for like a bunch of marquee names, right now. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Leon Thomas. Do you know who Leon Thomas is?
I've heard of Leon Thomas, yeah.
So this is a guitar that I'm doing for Leon Thomas.
Woo! That's hot, man.
Yeah, and
I like that color. Wait, can you go back down to the body of it?
yeah,
Show us again.
He wanted a special yellow and green.
Wow, that is really cool.
Yeah. So so I've been doing this for about like a year and a half, doing the guitars, and the response. I mean, I have like I've got 20 in here. They're all getting ready to ship out because most of them are sold.
Can people go online if they wanted to order? How do people get it?
The live audience. Tim Tim is a full-fledged guitar tech, so he does all the stuff that I don't
All the wirings, all the stuff that you ain't doing. Listen,
Yeah. So,
where
but
do people?
I have a partner in this, Gino Wong, right? And Gino is I've known Gino for years. He was a DJ on WXPN, and he used to do host Stars End and stuff like that. And
Gino
and
Wong?
Gino Wong, yeah. And we're putting together. But
Wow, what a
we
name!
developed a thing called, we're calling a parallelogram, and it's a mixing console for stomp boxes. And then we got some other things, but we're having it fabricated right now, and we're going to be selling them under the American Beauty brand. This is a distressed 335 that I'm doing for somebody.
Now, those are all wood, right? Or are you? Is it only wood that you're painting or doing these the art for? Is it all wood guitars, or is it ceramic or any other type of material?
No, right now predominantly wood, but I'll tell you about that in a second. But they're a little dusty, but these are all tellies that I did.
Those are all finished.
I got some more back here, and this is another 335, similar to the Leon Thomas one that I just finished.
Very cool, man.
And these are tellies that they're either finished or.
Oh man, that green telly is crazy, man.
Yeah.
Now break down telly. I know what it is, but break it down for the people that are listening that don't know what you're talking about.
It's a Telecaster. Now these aren't official Fender Telecasters. These are Chinese repros. But I'm not, it's really they're they're not that expensive. But by the time I get done with them, because it's not just like I do really nice hardware,
Yes,
but
yes.
it's also the whole motif. This is a guitar for a girl. She's on Warner Brothers. Her name is Charity, and everything she does is about orange, right? Orange is like all her videos, she's got this fixation with the color orange. So she wanted an orange guitar. So let me put
orange is a great color.
Yeah, so let me show this to you in the light. So can you see that?
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, so the skin of it, right? The surface feels like a blood orange, and it's colored like a blood orange, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and
Now,
then there's another one. This is for an artist in Canada. She's a platinum artist. Her name is Elisa Reed, and
okay.
She was doing a gig
if somebody wants to buy this from you, where are they going?
Well, it's right now. It's just for people that word of mouth, right? But I have a website that's being built as we speak, and I'm going to be marketing that pretty heavily. But this is she did a gig at the Niagara on the Lake, and I was going to go up for it, but we weren't able to get there. But I did this guitar for it, and
oh, that's pretty cool.
You can see that, right?
Yeah, it looks like water, right?
Yeah, it's water, right?
It is water.
Looks like water. Yeah.
Wow, that's
beautiful. So,
I mean, that would be pretty sick if you were able to just, have real water.
it would be. It would be. No, I gotta tell you, there's some crazy things. Like, people are doing vinyl with liquid in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
One group did a record that's got piss in it. I don't.
Oh, come on, that's a little too far.
Yeah, where'd the piss come from? That's what I want to know.
So you gotta make a toilet bowl bass then.
Yeah. So anyhow, yeah. So the guitar, and I do a lot of experimentation. Like right there, you see like a couple Telecasters that have been painted like 50 times.
Yeah.
And but it's always the mistakes. Like whenever I make if I make a crucial mistake, right? I never get upset about it because I know that usually 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna find something really cool to do. You know what I mean? And like a lot of the stuff that I think is like kind of what I think is the coolest stuff that I have came about because of it was just a simple mistake that I made, and then I made something out of it, and something happened, it's like, oh wow, that's cool, so I just had to strip it back down and redo it and then do that, but anywho,
are you doing any other instruments, like, because drums is made out of wood?
No, I want to do drums. I want to do drums. The only reason I haven't done any drums yet is because of as you can see, there's like a space issue here. You know what I mean?
Sure.
there's like, oh, this is, you guys know who Isaiah Sharkey is?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, this guitar is for Isaiah.
Oh man, that's hot.
Yeah.
I love the color, man. It's very, very
Yeah,
cool.
well, that's I use anodized cording. It's like for automotive, right? And it's really cool. It's used for like on chrome and stuff like that. It's like heat resistant paint, but it's iridescent, and I use it as like a toner coat, And yeah, so if you can you see a design in there? Can you see like the roses and stuff?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. Because I don't know what it looks like from where you guys sit, but anyhow,
That's pretty cool though, Chris. So this is like, so now what about music? Like, are you? I know this is music related. Obviously, you're painting on guitars and things of this nature. But what about besides the albums and the other stuff? Are you yourself?
That's all I do all day. I work on music all day.
That's
I'm on
it.
the phone. Yeah,
I love it, man.
Fact, if we weren't doing this right now,
yeah,
I would be. I'm like literally. I have like 6 people waiting on me, right? Because we're doing the whole the Ice Cube thing. It's logistically a little bit of a nightmare, right? But once you do it though, like with the variants and everything like that, and the stuff that we learned when we did with the Wu-Tang stuff, it all comes together and we form like a protocol, and then but that's all I do.
Yeah, I want to ask you. I tried to surprise you with Mike Ross, coming on the show to say hello, but he ended up getting tied up, and he was on a phone call, as busy as you guys are busy. But back in the day, we did these repressings of the records, and did these really cool things like a 45s with a puzzle and all this other mumbo jumbo. It's
funny. Speaking of Mike Ross.
Yeah.
I'm doing a guitar for Simon.
Oh.
From the brand new heavies.
Yeah.
I'm doing a special Stratocaster for him.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah. So I was gonna do a record with them, and it was just like it's typical like shit that happens. The thing is all I know is that we started the whole thing, and I had the guy that did the Arrested Development stuff was going to do like help them put the tracks together and the beats and everything. And they were thrilled. It was like very cool. And then the label that they were signed to, which is London Records. I forget the name of the guy. Anyhow, they wanted to do some reissues of the older stuff, and they said they got to talking. They said, "Oh, let's do it now. We're going to do the vinyl and everything." But then nothing happened. It's just like all kind of like.
I think we're losing. Yeah, I had a feeling we were gonna.
Yeah,
we were losing Chris. I'm gonna just pull him down for now, unless he comes back up. But we got Chris Schwartz on the show, but we lost his connection. Chris Schwartz, legendary executive producer for Lauryn Hill, Fugees, Cypress Hill, Schoolie D. Kris Kross will make you jump. And a plethora of others. We're talking music. We're talking art on guitars, painting on guitars, and we just lost them. We are at the top of the hour too. We had a special guest, but I couldn't make it happen. Another special guest, but we couldn't make it happen. Mike Ross from Delicious Vinyl, who we were talking about before Chris got interrupted by the internet. You were hearing what I heard, right? Cookie?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure it wasn't just on my end. But yeah, what an interesting show. And interesting, like the whole Arrested Development. Did you even know about Arrested Development was still doing that thing?
Yeah, I did. They've been at it consistently.
I'm so clueless with that.
They've never stopped.
Wow.
A lot of these artists, they keep going and they're creative and they're making great stuff. But it's like only certain things get the limelight. But the artists, like Chris said, these artists that established those hits and that touring connection years ago, they still have very successful careers. I mean, it's pretty cool. Chris is in the studio. Let's bring him up. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all right, man. We lost you for a second. We didn't know if it was us or you.
Phone died like right in the middle of my my tail of the
Stuff,
road.
man. Yeah.
So anyhow, they're good guys though, man.
Yeah. But I wanted to ask you, and pertaining to that is like, we did these special things, right? Have you considered doing the same thing for the older records that you released on Ruffhouse, like the original Cypress Hill stuff, maybe an instrumental album, maybe a box set, with 45s or a cassette tape, like posters, like anything? Is that anything that's on the table? Have you considered that?
The ability to do the variants, right, has given us a little bit of a leg up because we're the only company that can do them.
Right.
Because these guys have the whole patent on it and everything. And even though it's not that complicated of a process, it's sort of like these guitars. I've explained to people how to do this thing with like the motifs and everything. And I've written it out for people and they still can't do it, because I don't know. But like in terms of the whole process, it's complicated in that you have to have a machine of which only 2 exist in North America for the printing, right? And the one machine is the size of a tractor trailer. It's got a control room and everything, So and that machine is tied into a machine that cuts, glues, and folds the cardboard, right? So in terms of the labels and everything, yes, I'd like to go to have Sony and say, hey, there's a lot of. Here's the thing, when
do you have to go to Sony? Do you have to go to them, or can you do it on your own?
No, you have to go to Sony because they own the masters. So here's the thing, when the vinyl resurgence came about, the major distribution powers, they for the most part they didn't have any pressing plants, and at the time there was like maybe 22 pressing plants in the United States, and they're all like little custom operations, right? So and they were like overrun, so they turned to the former Czech Republic, right, where this company CZ existed, and they had like 67 machines and everything, and they could get records pressed. But the problem was, in order to make it financially viable to do that, they would have to do like orders of like 50,000, 100,000, 150,000. They couldn't gang the orders, meaning that they could put a bunch of things that had to be the same title. So what they did was they looked at, okay, let me see, Guardians of the Galaxy, Fleetwood Mac, the Eagles, right? And that's what they were doing, right? So in the meantime, there was a lot of records that people would buy, but for the most part, at the beginning and like towards up to the middle of the whole resurgence, it was just really big titles, right? It was just like Pink Floyd and,
stuff that they kind of knew that would sell.
Yeah, well, yeah, but exactly, because they couldn't afford to do smaller titles, right? So these smaller titles have been sitting kind of dormant. Now you still, like in hip hop, you have like, I mean, my God, if I see that Outkast record one more time, it's like Vinyl Me Please, and those companies like that Outkast record, they so many people put that thing out. But like, the Fugees, Nas, Tribe Called Quest, you see those really big titles, but then what about all the other titles? What about like say School ED and stuff like that? Those deals can be done. It seems to me that for a while, if you were doing if you wanted to do like 1,500 records or something, they were kind of open to it. But then it was like, oh, it's got to be 5,000 or else it's not worth our time. And then you got to give them an advance up front and everything like that. So they don't make it easy. As a matter of fact, somebody told me that Sony told them like last week that they're not even doing licensing anymore.
Sony's not doing licensing anymore.
Well, look, I don't know. That's what somebody said. I don't know if I particularly believe what they said.
Sure.
But here's the thing: the major
a lot of bread and butter there.
Here's what it is. Everything's been streamed. It's all been streamed, right? So when all these companies started merging, right, back in the like late 90s, early 2000s, they had to merge because as physical sales were eroding, they needed to be able to combine their catalogs to be able to sustain, right? So that's why they started merging and everything. So now they've all been merged, right? We've got 3 companies, really. You have Universal, you have Warner's, and you have Sony, right? The only way for these companies now to grow is through acquisition, right? So they have to buy things that are working revenue generating assets that are music related. Some of them you kind of have to squint your eyes to get the connection, but yeah, I guess it's got something to do with music. But where they're really making a lot of big investment now is in the live space. You know, they're buying venues, they're buying concert companies and everything. Tremendous investments, and so they're not so pliable in wanting to give up records for licensing and everything. But here's the thing, I've got more records than I can do, really, to tell you the truth. As far as
you're talking about records that you were involved with, right? Not like your collection.
Records that I'm doing right now.
Okay.
I put out in a period of like just a little bit, like under 2 years, I put out 38 records, 38 albums, right?
Is it all distributed through through Sony?
I was distributed to MVD at the time, right?
Okay.
And then they're a great company, but I kind of like upped the ante a little bit, and I was able to the Universal and Virgin had looked at what I was doing, and so they gave me the funding and everything like that. So now it's like I'm able to go out and get records that I wasn't able to get before, right? And so like bigger artists and stuff like that. So so the reality is that what I'm looking to do is, like, again, I'm calling, look, it's a vinyl distribution company. I mean, we do streaming too, but we don't. The thing is like a lot of the deals I get, the streaming usually has already been done. Somebody already got it. So, but I don't really care that much about it because it's all about the vinyl. Because I look at us more as being like a merchandising company.
Yeah.
We're putting together. We're gonna be on an app for the project, the 12 by 12 that I told you about, and that's a branded release schedule. So that's going to be, all the artists are going to be able to link in the app on their websites and everything. And everybody that comes over to the 12 by 12, we have that audience. And what we're doing is that we're going to build the audience so we can go back and then sell them other things, but the company that I'm working with, a digital print and publishing technology company, they did 700 comic book titles last year. They have deals with DC, Marvel. They own the Archie catalog. But we do graphic novels, posters, any of that stuff. And we're doing the Wu-Tang Man of the Iron Fist. We're doing the soundtrack reissue of that one, because I believe it's the 30-year anniversary of it. And so we're going to do like a different, there's a company that does movie posters. They do remakes of movie posters. They're really cool company. But we're going to do a 1-of-1 variant on the poster, on the packaging and everything. So that's those are the projects that really kind of like I find interesting,
There's a company out of Boston called Traffic Entertainment. I'm sure you've heard of them.
I know about Traffic. Get on down.
Yeah. So we that's why I set Mike Ross up, for the distribution of those projects that we were doing back, I want to say 20 years ago, man. Time flies, but they're a really good house.
I know all about them.
They do all those cool projects. That was something I was going to try and link you with.
We did a RZA.
Okay.
I did a RZA trilogy, right? The new Bobby Digital trilogy. And we did a vinyl variant for them. We did a special yellow vinyl thing, but I've known about those guys forever. They're
cool. Yeah, I was going to try and link you with them.
Their hip hop thing is called Get On Down, and then there's the other company that is who I consider to be a marquee name is Fat Beats, and and it's funny because a very good friend of mine who worked at Mass Appeal, which is Nas's company, just took a position over at Fat Beats, and I think we're gonna be doing a lot of stuff with them.
Does Joe still own Fat Beats, or did he sell it?
No, they were bought by Rostrum.
Okay, so
I wanted to put together a thing to get Fat Beats. I thought
cool.
You know what the thing is, it's like I think that they kind of like towards the before they got sold. They were having some problems and everything.
Sure, I mean, it's been a while.
It's a credible heritage name, right?
Yes.
And the mailing list alone.
Yes.
You know, it's like you
I
can't.
mean, they distributed a lot of really cool independent records as well. You know, they made Stone's Throw pretty much. You know, Stone's Throw deals with Fat Beats, and so yeah. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of.
Yeah, they do. They look. You know, this the thing about Fat Beats is that Fat Beats is like they're the type of company that would, instead of doing something that they think is going to go out and sell like 30,000 copies or something, they'd rather do 15 projects that do, you know, 1,500 records, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
they weren't afraid to put people out. That's for sure.
Yeah. The only thing about doing stuff like that is that's all fine and well, but it's like labor intensive, right? Like as a matter of fact, the deal that the thing that we're doing with on the Man of the Iron Fist, you know, I'm looking at maybe, you know, 1,500 to 2,000 records, you know, even on the variant, you know what I mean? And that's globally, because it is what it is, you know. But the thing is, we're gonna be selling it because it's a cover variant, right? We're probably gonna be selling it in wholesale in like in the $100 range, right? So that's why, again, going back to like vinyl, it's a merchandising item, right? And as a merchandising item, you have to look at it less is more, right? So you're really appealing to the fans who like really want, like, you know, look, let's face it, merchandising,
diehards.
It's all about the fans want to draw the water from as close to the well as possible. They want something that was touched by the artist, you know? And that's like, you know, that's where like, I think there's a lot of artists leave a lot of money on the table because, you know, who wants to sit around and autograph 3,000 records? Nobody, right? But if you have 3,000 records and you could sell them for $100 a piece because you autographed them, right? And there's a way to do autographing. You just set up a bunch of like long lunch tables and you have somebody file and you just have the person walk. If you walk and sign. No, seriously. If you sit there,
I'm not laughing. I'm laughing in a good way.
It takes forever.
Yeah.
But if the person's walking and signing, you can knock out 3,000 records in like an hour. You know?
Yeah.
Anyhow. But
no, but this is true though. I really think that the connection with the musicians and the fans, that personal connection, is kind of what it takes today, because we never had that back in the past. Maybe some meet and greets, but for the most part, the artist is like on. You know, you see it today. These people get out of the hotel, there's security around them, they get into an SUV, and there's people, you know, trying to hawk on them.
I don't think Post Malone needs to sit there and autograph 3,000 records.
He probably would.
We're talking about this. I'm talking about artists, you know, emerging artists and people on, you know, that are out there. You know, the thing is, there's artists. There was a company that was doing a recording studio in North Carolina that was doing a thing where you could authenticate the record because it had a chip in it. And the way they figured out how to do it, because it's very hard, you can't put anything in vinyl, right? Like vinyl, it's a warp wobble thing, right? And what they figured out was that they made it like a circular washer, the chip, and they put it underneath the label, right around the spindle, right? So they were selling those records. They had people that would come in and they'd get 200 records done, and they would sell those records for $150, $200 a piece to their own constituency of fans, right? That's not a bad business to be in, you know? But the product has to be something special. It can't be bullshit, you know what I mean?
You can't give them some Fugees.
The records that we do are, you know, they're audiophile grade, collector's quality, you know, 100% virgin vinyl. They're made, the system used for mastering them, it uses predictive analysis to it forecasts where the deformations are going to be in the grooves, right? And it gives the cutting engineer a critical analysis report to tell him where, like at 2 minutes and 32 seconds, you're going to have groove deformation here, like all that stuff, right?
Wow.
Our pressings virtually mirror the intended audio equalization of the original studio performance, right? That's why we do records for the Sinatra State. We do records for Disney. You know, our shit just sounds really good, you know? And so, so we charge a little bit more than most people, but that's the whole thing. Again, less is more, right? We're not in a mass consumer playback thing. We're in it's a merchandising thing, you know? Oh, look, I know Jessica. Jessica's over here working on
Hey, Jessica.
Jessica does really cool guitars, guys. Check this out. Oh, all right, that's it. Here's the other one. Here's one. So she did.
I love the fact that we're live and we can take the cameras anywhere we want.
Yeah, I know. It's great. I didn't even. I wasn't even thinking. I just looked. I just happened to notice that she was back there.
That's hilarious.
She does really, really cool guitars, and it's funny because one of her guitars is probably gonna get more money than any of the guitars in here. So.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. Dude, it's great to have you back on the show and chopping it up about these, the nuances of a lot of the stuff that we spoke about today on the show, and including the art that you're doing, for the painting of the guitars. I think that's cool. And I'd love to see drums. I'd love to see what you did with drums.
How much do I talk about drums all the time? All the time.
You got to get a little mini kit.
I would kill a set of drums.
Dude, get a little mini kit and make it happen, Chris. That's all I can tell you.
The problem is it's about room.
Get a mini kit. That's what I said. Get a mini kit.
The other thing is I got to take them apart, right? No, I don't care about taking them apart and all that shit. It's not that. It's just that there's at this point, I'm afraid if I take somebody's kit and I take it apart, I'll do a really good job on the drums, but it just might not have any of the hardware. I want to give it back.
You're like, your drums look cool, but you can't play. You cannot play these drums. That's for sure. But yeah, man, dude, awesome. So, what you said you're building a website, right, for the guitars?
Yeah, for the guitars, yeah.
Okay. Do you have a website name for it yet? A domain name?
Yeah, it's good. It's going to be American Vintage, or excuse me, AmericanBeauty.com. As a matter of fact, let me see. Where's one?
AmericanBeauty.com. Everybody, if you're listening, make sure you go check it out soon. AmericanBeauty.com. We've got Chris Schwartz on the show from Ruffhouse Records, and
you don't have
an American Beauty.
Yeah, hold on.
Cookie.
Right here.
Yeah, I think it's American Beauty, something else. American Beauty Guitars or something. Let's check it out.
Oh,
I think.
okay.
No, there's a here. This is
It's like he's opening up a pack of baseball cards.
No. Here, let me use. So these are actual metal foil things that. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, American Beauty. Hold it up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Pull it back. There you go.
Yeah, can you see that? I mean,
yeah, we got it.
Lighting here is horrible.
I want a patch. I'm gonna make a patch of that.
Is that a sticker?
I was thinking the T-shirts and the hats and everything.
What is that? Is that a sticker or a patch?
It's like really, that's where the money will be.
Yeah,
it won't be in the guitars. Stuff, right?
Well, you can't stream a guitar, at least,
No, you can't. You can't take it on an airplane either if you care about it.
That's true.
You can buy a seat for it though.
Yeah, you can.
They strap it in. Yeah.
You put that guitar in the middle seat, and no one will sit on the other side.
Yeah. Well, your best bet is not even put it in a case. It's actually if you pack it in a box, right? And the way they get shipped when they're new, you can put it on an airplane. They can do whatever to it because it's there's a way you can do it where it can withstand anything. Yeah. But when there's some good road cases and everything, but I had one experience that was just really bad, and so. Anywho, gentlemen, thank you for having me, and I look forward to Cookie. What's your app called?
My personal version of it is called the Cookie Dojo.
The Cookie Dojo. That's
Dough.
It's really, really cool, and everybody should check it out because it's going to be important, right?
That's it.
So,
it's not going to be important. It's going to be absolutely unimportant, but it's going to be special, though.
I think is because you get the whole thing, and that's why I was so amazed when you were telling me about it because it's all I've been talking about. So anyhow, guys, have a good one, and can't wait for the next time.
Oh yeah, Chris. Thank you for taking the time and hanging out with us, man. Greatly appreciated. Have a blessed day, and keep making those cool guitars, and don't stop making music, which I know you won't. So
yeah. All right. Thank you. Talk to you guys soon. All right. Bye.
Peace. Wow, what an awesome show, man. So happy to have Chris on with us. And man, just a lot of things going on. He broke down a lot of stuff for us, man. And it was cool that the processing that he was talking about, like, with the digital and from the analog, with being with Lauryn Hill in overseas, and they went to the studio and they had everything taped up, all the tape machines covered up, which totally makes sense, man. I told you that time I went with when I was doing the Delicious Vinyl stuff, we had to cook the 2-inch tapes overnight so they didn't stretch on the machine because we were taking them from the 2-inch reel-to-reel tapes and putting them into Pro Tools, moving them to digital so we could easily maneuver around. But we had to cook the actual tapes, like literally put them in a toaster oven on low overnight. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I almost shit my pants because I'm like, if this is not right and this sound engineer is lying, we're fucking doomed, because this is there's only
you know? Yeah, no, I could totally feel you on that. And that's way more of a serious situation than I've been in. But I know that feeling when you're like, I'm doing this thing, and if I fuck it up, it's going to break something important. And the fact when it's like such an important piece of music like you were doing there. Hey, you know, I wanted to comment too on, I just thought it was so interesting that Wu-Tang project, well, the whole concept of the different generative album covers, because it has nothing, it's not blockchain related at all. Yeah, it's the same concept of generative art, but it's physical. And I can't help but see how someday those two things are going to be aligned somehow, like his project with that as also a verification via a hashtag on the blockchain. But I don't know. But it was very interesting. You know, that's another thing too. We didn't get into it with him. We didn't talk to him about the blockchain and what his thoughts were on the future of music using the blockchain. If he, you know, would love to, maybe the next time we get him on, you know, maybe we're all there at that you know, particular juncture in time. You know, because I'm curious to know his thoughts on the blockchain coming from the executive standpoint, where, you know, he's got all that experience and knowledge, you know, from you know, producing records and executive producing records, what he thinks of, you know, the music being on the blockchain today, you know. So maybe the next time we get him on the show, we can talk to him about blockchain and this stuff. Yeah, sure, man.
For sure. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We went over a little bit today. That's okay. We had a legendary guest on, Chris Schwartz from Ruffhouse Records. It's been awesome. American Beauty, make sure you check his website out. American Beauty will be up soon, americanbeauty.com. And hit him up if you want a custom guitar. He'll make a custom guitar for you, man. Very, very cool. Thank you, everybody. We do this every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Jus Riffin. We're powered by Rug Radio. Cookie, it's always a pleasure, man, and great to see you. Any last words from you before we zip up out of here?
No. No, just you know, just fun show, man. People try to match Chris's energy. You saw how many different things he's working on. So whatever you're interested in, like, go out there and do it. Just get it.
Don't get discouraged. Yeah, just watch the show again. Don't get discouraged, man.
Yeah, man. Keep you know, sticking your finger in the pies and see which one's ripe, and then I don't know. I'm just don't
stick them in the light socket. All right, man. Everybody, thank you again. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Peace out, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in.
Jus Riffin.
Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m. That's EST.
Jus Riffin.
Special guest and tech and talk, a musicology.
Jus Riffin.
Coming to you live at the same time here every week.
Jus Riffin.
Jump in the room, let's chop it up. It really ain't that deep.
Jus Riffin.